Hello, I'm KaZe. I like to play a lot of Monster Hunter. This is probably going to be the hardest video I will ever have to create because I have been tasked with some people from my community to make a tier list of all of the games. There's one that I have no clue what it is. It's this one down here. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor or not. I might be able to fix that. Hold on, properties, capture cursor. Done. Okay. So now you should be able to see my cursor. As you guys may know, if you don't, I'm KaZe. I play a lot of Monster Hunter. I have been playing Monster Hunter since 2009 when Freedom Unite first came out. And I have been a huge fan of the series ever since. And this one has every single game that I can think of. It even has the Japanese only titles like Portable Second G, as well as the English versions of Freedom Unite. So I will be going through and listing off my favorites. And there were more tiers. There were some that were like garbage and like bad, but like there's never, in my mind, there's never been a bad Monster Hunter game. Ever. They've always been fun. Even the original with the clunky controls, the stick attack, you know. There's no such thing as a bad Monster Hunter game. That being said, there is one note. There is no Z Zenith for this, but I'm just gonna list them all as the same entity as Frontier, because I never got to play Frontier in its inception, as well as the corresponding updates up to the Z update. So I'm just going to list them all as Frontier Z. And yeah, so the first one is obviously Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I'm going to go with the game that I started playing, Freedom Unite. Back in 2009, I was, let's see, like 12, 11, 12. Somewhere around in there. I played a lot of racing games in my life up to this point, and I wanted something different. You know, I always got racing games for Christmas and stuff. You know, I really liked cars. And I remember sitting in the living room watching TV with my dad, and I saw the advertisement for Freedom Unite, and I pointed to my old man and I was like, I need this, and I want it. And within that week, we ended up going to Best Buy, and I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, I need this, and I'm taking this with me, whether you like it or not. And he was like, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna argue. So I got the game. I started playing it. I fell in love. The game was hard. I was terrified of like everything. I ended up using dual blades first because I thought they were really cool. And then I learned that greatsword is the greatest weapon ever. And so, because Freedom Unite has such a powerful emotion tied to it, you know, like I got my ass handed to me. I'm putting this in Masterpiece. It's a really good game. And I recommend any person who has ever played a Monster Hunter game to come back and play this game. It's a really good game that shows, you know, how unforgiving the older generations can be while also having really decent controls. I think Freedom Unite is probably the best old gen game. You know, that being said, we're ready to move on. So next, you know, I played Try. Try came out on the Wii. Try, I believe, was a wonderful game. It is the first instance of Monster Hunter that I ever got to play with other people. I didn't have Ad Hoc Party for Freedom Unite, and I didn't have friends that played the game. So Try was my first multiplayer experience, and it was beautiful. It added water combat. I think it's also a masterpiece because it added a lot of verticality to the game in a very unique way. I can't not put Try in masterpiece. You know, it's just it's a beautiful game. I, it's just a great game. I'm gonna have a really hard time with this if you can't tell. Everything's either gonna be masterpiece or incredible, or I haven't played it. But I've played almost every single title on this list. Just so we're clear. Yeah, Try's great. I never really played Freedom 2. Freedom 2, I believe Freedom 2 was the last Monster Hunter title where you didn't have a companion. Which I don't know how that would play. Because in Freedom Unite, you get a companion pretty early. Which I think would change the game. So I'm just going to put Freedom 2 as not played. Monster Hunter 1, classic. It's brutal. It's a really tough game. But it's also pretty cheesable from what I've heard. And from what I've played, it's pretty fun. The game beats the shit out of you. And it's a classic. I wouldn't put it as a masterpiece because I haven't had many hours with the original Monster Hunter, so I'm just gonna put it in incredible. I still think it's a great game. I think it's beautiful to return to the roots of Monster Hunter. Actually, you know what? We'll put it in great. We'll put it in great because I believe that there are some titles that will exceed it but not be masterpieces. So I think Monster Hunter being in great is a good baseline. Monster Hunter Freedom, okay. Monster Hunter Freedom is the portable version of Monster Hunter G, which I have played but I haven't beaten. Same with the original Monster Hunter game. I haven't beaten it, but I have played it pretty extensively. I think this is the first instance where it's incredible instead of great, because with it being on portable, there are some added benefits. Like I believe Freedom introduced the farm. It has better controls because there's only one analog stick on PSP. So I think it's an incredible. I think the control scheme is really good. It's still pretty much just Monster Hunter G. And I think it's fair to put Monster Hunter G and Monster Hunter in the same tier list, because they're basically the same game, just one has G rank as well as extra subspecies and some extra monsters and online stuff. I haven't really played Monster Hunter G, but it's basically the same as Freedom, so I'm just gonna put it in great because, you know, the analog control scheme I'm not a huge fan of, but it's not bad. It's still very much playable. Okay, 3 Ultimate. If anyone's been watching my stream, you know I have been playing a lot of 3 Ultimate in the past couple months. I lost my save data and I just decided to restart from scratch. So we decided to make every weapon, fight every monster with every weapon type, and I think it's a great game. It's a very good upgrade to Try. There are some people that say that the content in 3 Ultimate was just kind of tacked on and it didn't really feel like there was as good of a progression as there was in Try, which I get, but I still think it's a masterpiece. I think with the amount of content, I didn't mean to do that. I think with the amount of content that is in 3 Ultimate just by itself, and it being a slight upgrade to Try, not in terms of graphics, because it is a 3DS title that was eventually added to the Wii U. You know, it looks okay, it plays okay. If you're on Wii U, apparently there's input lag. I didn't know this when I was playing a ton of it. I'm also gonna put, you know, 3G up here as well. Basically the same game, just Japanese. Masterpiece. And same with Portable Second G, basically the same game. Also, there's recently been a patch for Portable Second G that turns it into Freedom Unite, as well as some other cool stuff by Mr. Incognito Man. If you guys are part of the stream, you know I play this game every Friday with some friends, Crimson, Baron, and Daimo. And it's great. It's beautiful. I love a reason to come back to Freedom Unite. Game's just so good. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so we'll talk about 4. I never really got to play 4. I'm just going to assume it's roughly the same as 4 Ultimate. I don't think there has been too many dramatic changes from 4 to 4U. I think there were some nerfs and some buffs to some weapons. But I'm going to put these in the same category. I think they're masterpieces. And even though I love to shit on 4 Ultimate, 4 Ultimate probably has the best progression of any Monster Hunter game I've ever played. You know, from start to finish, you always feel like you're gaining, you know, damage or power, like as you're upgrading your gear, making better weapons. You're always gaining you just always feel like you're able to keep up with the monsters, at least in the story mode. And maybe even some in G rank. I haven't played 4 Ultimate in quite a while. But I think it's great. I think it's, you know, it's definitely A++, S+, whatever kind of ranking system you want to put. 4 Ultimate's a good game. I think the end game kind of lackluster. I'm not a big fan of guild quests, having to grind them up and you know, beat the crap out of yourself for whatever. You know, it's a good challenge once you are able to get there, but then grinding another one up to get the specific weapon you want, it's boring. It's tiresome. Kind of lame. You know, it's still a good game. Still a good game. Guild quest bad. Everything else great. I love it. All right, so I'm going to add Portable Third up here as well. Portable Third is a great game. Beautiful game. I'm going to put it in between, just kind of chronological, I guess. So Portable Third is a really good in-between that doesn't have any water combat. They took out the water combat because it was put on the PSP. It adds some beautiful monsters like Zinogre, Amatsu, Duramboros, as well as some subspecies like Glacial Ignactor, Purple Ludroth, and those kind of monsters. It's a really beautiful game. It's probably the easiest of the old gen monsters, Monster Hunter titles. I would assume that like 3rd gen all the way down to 1st gen would be kind of old gen. That's when like things were still kind of archaic. You know, the movement wasn't super fluid. You know, you had to be a lot more methodical with your gameplay. In case you were wondering what I meant by old gen. But Portable Third is probably the easiest, but it's also probably the best feeling, especially atmospheric. The town feels great. The music feels amazing. The hub feels so like warm and welcoming. It's a great game. The visuals are also really good, especially for PSP. Beautiful game, beautiful title. I love it. It's has to be a masterpiece. 100%. 100% a masterpiece. So now, with that being said, now we're getting into the later 4th gen games where, you know, the movement's starting to become a lot more fluid, and now there's a lot more content kind of being added to like change up the game. Generations added Hunter arts and Hunter styles to change how you can play with each individual weapon. They had guild style, aerial style, striker style, and adept style, I believe, were the original 4. That was pretty good. It made Greatsword extremely strong. Aerial Greatsword was amazing. It felt good. I wasn't too thrilled with how the Hunter arts work. Game feels kind of balanced around Hunter arts a little bit. But Generations, I think, is an incredible game. It's not a masterpiece, unfortunately. But there are some really good points, like the monster variety. It's got a lot of monsters. This is basically the game where they were like, we want to make a game that encompasses like the great things of all 4 generations, basically. It added 4 new flagships, even though technically Glavenus is still the flagship. It's a good game. It adds a lot of really cool monsters, really cool monster designs like Astalos, Glavenus, Gameth, Mizitsune, all these new fan favorites. It also brings some monsters back. The downside is there's no subspecies, so you get the base version of the monster, and if there's a deviant, which is the downside. Deviant grinding, in my opinion, is not that fun. It's similar to Guild Quests and 4 Ultimate, where you start from, level 1, and you have to work your way up and gain, levels for the quest. You have to keep doing the same quest and the same monster over and over and over again to level it up, to get better gear, whatever. And that's fine. It's definitely better than Guild Quests, in my opinion, because there's much less of a grind for leveling up the quest. And, it's whatever. It stops at high rank. It's no problem. Next is Generations Ultimate, and this is probably going to upset some people. Generations Ultimate, I don't think is a masterpiece. I used to love this game. I thought it was my favorite game for a long time. And then after kind of going back and playing some of the older titles, you really start to miss some of the subspecies. Some of the subspecies felt really incredible and really cool to fight because they were just, different variants of a fight you were already familiar with. So it was really cool to fight something that changed an aspect of a monster you were used to fighting. And I thought that was really cool about subspecies. Obviously some species are not as great, like Blue Kutku. I don't really know the difference between Kutku and Blue Kutku, other than Blue Kutku is stronger and has more health. I think he's also more fireball heavy. I don't remember. It's been a while. But Generations Ultimate has a metric butt ton of content. I believe in the main series it might have the most amount of large monsters in any Monster Hunter title. I'll have to double check that. We'll I don't know. It's got a lot of shit. It's like a buffet. And as good as buffets are, generally the amount of content you have causes the quality of the content you have to suffer. And I kind of think a little bit of it does suffer. You have a ton of monsters, and there's some monsters that kind of feel the same, some monsters that feel like they just don't really do anything. And then you have other monsters that feel incredible, like Valstrax, in my opinion, is a really good monster in this game. I love Valstrax. Valstrax, cool monster design. I call him the jetpack chicken because that's what he looks like. And he has this really cool move where he flies up and he causes your eardrums to explode. Beautiful. But like with Deviant quests, there's a lot to grind for. But thankfully, in G rank, there's less Deviant quests to grind, because generally it's like 5 quests per rank. So there's like a maximum of 15 for monsters that were in Gen, and then only 5 for monsters that were introduced in Generations Ultimate, like Bolt Reaver. Only had 5 quests. So there's my take on Generations Ultimate. A lot of content, but quality of content might not be as good as older titles. Next is World. Some people didn't like World because it made things a bit too easy, and there were also some issues, especially with the PC port and lightning element, causing people's computers to explode. I think World was a great game. I don't necessarily think it's a masterpiece, but god damn is it not close. I loved Base World. Base World felt so fluid, so dynamic, so diverse in its endemic life, in its environments, as lackluster as they were, you know, and one of the things that I really appreciate about the old titles is the amount of areas and the area diversity you got playing those older titles. Like Freedom Unite has, god, like 10 maps. It's crazy. You have like the swamp, the old swamp, the jungle, the old jungle, forest and hills, snowy mountains, the volcano, the old volcano. You've got like 3 different arenas. It's insane. It's insane how many maps there are. And I loved that about that game, you know, because like you would always get those quests where it's all like, oh, you know, oh, I know the jungle, and then you get in and it's the old jungle and you don't know where anything is. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. It's great. It's amazing. But World had like 4 maps. Well, actually, no, 5 technically. And then, you know, one of them was locked to high rank, which I guess, you know, the whole game story goes up into high rank. So I guess it's not that big of a deal. But I think it kind of had the same feel as Try a little bit. There wasn't as much content, but I think the quality of the content was able to shine better because it wasn't like a buffet like Generations Ultimate is. So I think, god man, the more I think about it, the more I want to put World a masterpiece. So I just am. I think World's a masterpiece. If you don't like it, suck it. If you hate World, that's fine. You might not like it. But I think it's a pretty good game. I will say, weapon design, kind of garbage. But they fixed it eventually. So, whatever. I think it's fine. I think it's a good game. I think they tried something new, it backfired, and they learned better. That's what you want. You want experimentation and a learning process. Iceborn, I'm going to put in incredible. I think it made the game worse. And here's why. Clutch Claw is garbage. Clutch Claw Staggers, also garbage. I hate it. It's dumb. It ruins the feel of the combat. But it's dumb. And I hate it, and I don't like it. And I'm glad Rise doesn't have it. So, there's that. But other than that, you know, it added a lot more content. It added a lot more monsters to the game, which I think is great. You know, it added Nargacuga. It added Clavinus. It added a Clavinus subspecies, which I thought was crazy. I thought that was great. I loved it. You know, they added the Metal Wraths back. That's fine. They added Tigrex. They added the Tigrex subspecies, which is also great. You know, Garuga. I think Iceborn added more old monsters than it added new monsters, which is fine. You know, there's nothing bad about reusing old content if you can make it feel new again. That being said, it would have been better to see more new stuff than old stuff, but I think that's why it's an incredible instead of masterpiece. It's still overall a good game. Even though I hate Clutch Claw and Clutch Claw Stagger, still a really good game otherwise. Now we're on to Monster Hunter Rise. Rise, I also have a hard time putting it in Masterpiece because it also has a lot of returning monsters as well as some new monsters, and I believe there's more returning than there is new. And other than that, you know, the quality of the content is really good. I don't really think too much outshines each other. I will say one really negative part about this game is the way you grind talismans in this game is bad. Real bad. Like, you just shoot a bunch of monsters, you gather their gear, you shove them in a box, then you go do 10 quests. And after those 10 quests, you check what charms you got, you get nothing, you shove more shit back in the box, and then you keep repeating. That's not good. That's not good gameplay, in my opinion. It's, and I know Monster Hunter is a game about grinding. I get that. But generally, when you're grinding in a game like Monster Hunter, you have some agency over what you're grinding for. But with talismans, it's all RNG. So I think what should have been done was some talismans be available as quest rewards, like they were in old games. And that was a good system. Or you could add them to mining nodes, which was a good system, which they did in the old games. But they took that out because they hate fun. They hate me and they hate fun. And I don't like it, and it's bad. And that's like the only big gripe I have with Rise, is just how the talismans are set up. And I get it. The talismans are really powerful in this game because they changed the skill system in World. And they carried that through in Rise. But it's just so bad. I want, like, even if they made good charms harder to get, but they gave you more availability instead of just doing melds, I think it would have been fine. So I'm going to put Rise in Incredible. I don't think it's a masterpiece because it's just, that's my, I just can't. I can't. And I know what some people are being like, oh, you put World in Masterpiece, but you didn't put Rise in Masterpiece. And World had poopy decoration things. And yeah, that's true, but they fixed that in an update. So stop crying. All right, next is dynamic hunting. God, I'm getting so worked up right now. Okay, dynamic hunting was great. It wasn't a bad game. It felt good. I played this. I have it. I still have it on my phone. You can't play it anymore, I don't think, because they took the servers down. But I still have it installed on my phone somehow. It's okay. The biggest letdown is that supposedly, and now I didn't get the high rank because I didn't play it very often. The biggest letdown was in high rank. The game was very pay to win, which is never a good thing in a game like Monster Hunter. And I'm sure whatever company was making dynamic hunting, it probably had that intention of just trying to make money, which, you know, you can't blame the hustle. You just got to live with it. So the last title, and it is a title I have not spent a ton of time with, but I do know a lot of different things have changed in DOS. They added seasons. They added dynamic maps, like the volcano at night changes based on the volcano during the day. It's beautiful. It's good. I like it. I'm gonna put it in probably the same tier I put the first game in. You know, it's got content, it's got online. I haven't spent a ton of time with it. I've spent a little bit of time with it. I like it. It's a good game. But, you know, analog controls, still not my favorite. But other than that, apparently it's the more playable version than the original Monster Hunter, from what I've heard of other people playing it. I don't know what that means, but good, I guess. Cool, fantastic. It's but I do know there's a lot of interesting things that have been added to Dose that will spill over into the next title we're going to talk about, which I have played a fair bit of before it died, and that is Frontier. I never got to play the original Frontier or any of the subsequent updates that you're seeing here, like Frontier, Frontier 1 through 5, 9.0, whatever. There's probably some missing here. I loved every single part of Frontier that I had played. And Frontier has classic controls as well as more modern PSP controls, is what they called in the menu, if I'm remembering correctly. This game was amazing. It had a ton of content, but now with what I said about Generations Ultimate, it has a ton of content that, because it's an MMO, a lot of the newer content definitely overshadows a lot of the older content, kind of makes it obsolete, like with the Zenith update. Pretty much every best in slot weapon was a Zenith weapon as opposed to a regular G rank weapon. And I'm sure the same was for, G, like when G was introduced, all of the high rank weapons became obsolete, and so on and so forth. But that's just that's the nature of the beast when you're playing an MMO, especially Monster Hunter one, because G rank weapons generally are better than high rank weapons. That's just how the game progresses. But that being said, game is good. Game has a lot of monsters, and one of my favorite things about this game is how G rank feels makes every monster feel so much more unique than they did in the previous ranks. Like when you fight a low rank monster, then you fight a high rank monster, they're generally the same. They either are faster or have some extra combo ability, like with Raytheon getting a double backflip in high rank, as an example. But a lot of monsters get such a good moveset change in G in Frontier than they did in high rank, and they just feel so much better. Frontier also has hardcore monsters, which changes a lot about the monster again as well. Some of them get like red spikes and new moves, new temperaments. It's crazy. It's such an amazing game, and I can't wait to be able to play it again. So I'm going to put this in incredible. I don't think it's a masterpiece. It's tough. It's tough. But Frontier was based on DOS. So a lot of the things that was in DOS came over to Frontier, like the seasons, the day and night cycle for the maps. I can't not put it in a masterpiece. It's so crazy how different it is from a main series Monster Hunter title. And that being said, they did add some elements of Frontier into some of the newer titles, like I think Rajang has some hardcore moves that were in Frontier that are now just part of his normal moveset in Iceborn. I think Raging Rajang also has a new move. I think Perkidios also got a Frontier move as well. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do know that those were some instances of where they brought in Frontier stuff. So that being said, I could make a whole video just talking about how much I love Frontier, but I'm not. We're running pretty long. It's been 34 minutes, so we're gonna move it along. We've got quite a bit that I haven't played coming up, so we're probably almost done with this video. Stories 1 is great. It wasn't anything special. I think it was good for what it had. I think availability was an issue. It was only on 3DS and iOS. So I don't think a lot of people got to play it. Hell, even Stories 2 had more sales than Stories 1, I believe. If I read the numbers correctly. Probably not. But next up is Stories 2. I think Stories 2 is incredible. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a really good story, really easy to pick up and play. I don't remember if a lot of the story ties into the first. I don't think it does. I think there's like some nuances where they kind of connect the two. That being said, Stories 2 is a great game. It had a lot of cool features, a lot of cool, 5th gen monsters like Nergigante, really good monster. Ludroth, really cool monster. If you guys like fighting, what is it? Velocidrome? It's got Velocidrome. Pretty good game. I really liked it. I still need to finish it. I haven't finished it. I played it and then Rise came out and I started grinding that. But anyway, let's see. I've never played any of the Cat Village games, so those are going in there. I have seen some gameplay of it. It's kind of like Animal Crossing mixed with Monster Hunter. I've never played Explore, and I have no clue what massive hunting is. I don't know if it's anything like dynamic hunting, but I've never played it. Explore, I wish I had to try. I wish I had the ability to try it. I never got to play it. I know Baron has played it. He said it was really fun. Explore had the unique weapon, the Excel Axe. Looked really cool, really fun. It's like a rocket-powered hammer. It looked dope. Would have loved to play it. Online is a very tricky situation. I'm gonna put it in great. I don't think it was as majestic as Frontier was in terms of an MMO. Online was the Chinese MMO developed by Tencent. I did get to play it a little bit during its beta. Well, the whole game was in beta and then it closed down. But I played a bit of it before they added G rank, and before before they added sieges and stuff. The game was really grindy, and just like Frontier is pretty grindy too. There's like a lot of stuff to grind in that game, but it's an MMO. MMOs are supposed to be grinding and to keep up sales and subscriptions and stuff. I think online was really unfortunate. It was kind of a mixture between 3rd gen with the stylization of 2nd gen, because a lot of the gear and the weapon were based on Freedom Unite weapon and gear, while having like the similar combat of 3 and 3 Ultimate, or Portable 3rd, I guess. There's not much to say. It was a beautiful game. It was probably the most graphically impressive game in the Monster Hunter franchise, aside from World and Iceborn. But even then, like, the Unreal Engine just looked so beautiful. It looked so good. It looked great. It was amazing. It was a good game. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of grind. It was really pay to win. You know, they had like 15 different VIP services or something. It was crazy. Pretty crazy. But that being said, the only things that are left are these last Frontier stuff. I'm not going to worry about that. But this is my tier list. Freedom Unite, Portable 2nd G, Try, Portable 3rd, 3 Ultimate, 3G, 4 Ultimate, World, and Frontier are my personal masterpieces. Incredible or Freedom Unite, or I'm sorry, Freedom, Generations, Generations Ultimate, Iceborn, Rise, Stories 2, and the great games are Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter G, Dynamic Hunting, Dose, Stories, and Online. I gotta sneeze. Ooh, that was a rough sneeze. And games I haven't played: Freedom 2, the Poca Picaru Village, or whatever it's called, Explore, and whatever Massive Hunting is. Yeah, if you guys don't agree, let me know in the comments why not. Or if you think I'm a moron, that's fine too. I don't think there are any bad Monster Hunter games, at least that I've played, including Dynamic Hunting, which is probably the worst of them all. But I love you guys. I will see you guys next time. If you're new to the channel and new to the stream, be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/KaZe250. I stream Monday through Friday, generally around 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, depending on when I roll out of the bed. And yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.